That looks pretty lame. A healthy diet. You know, it's words that are music to some people's ears, but for some, it's just stab in the heart. You know, there's some times where some people just tell you, hey, didn't you just start this diet? Or, hey, weren't you like thinner before or something? Or, hey, you're eating that again? You know, those words are so painful to the heart. So why not take control? In this video, I'm going to be talking about 3 steps that you can take so that you can transition yourself to a healthier diet, or rather a healthier lifestyle. Well, it's the same thing. Hey guys, A-Man here, and you're watching Heart Limits. It's funny I always just say guys. Hey guys and gals, A-Man here, and you're watching Heart Limits. I think that sounds better. The thing with dieting is that there are so many sources and so many ways on how you can do it. But the problem is how people expect you to undergo such diet. You know, most of the time it's this abrupt change, or it's an extreme way where it affects either your health, the way you're thinking, and it could also affect your general lifestyle routine. Because of course your body has been used to taking certain things that in the end, once you stop taking it, you just feel this discomfort, you know, this never-ending craving. So I'm gonna teach you 3 steps that if you take the right way, is gonna help you transition to a healthier diet. So, step 1. Step 1 is about finding your starting point. Well, the thing is, most of the time when people get into a diet, they just jump into whatever comes into mind. Oh, I just want to lose weight, so I should just stop eating this, stop eating that, you know, or even, you know, just experiment. I've tried this diet, it didn't work for me. I tried this diet, it still doesn't work for me. Well, the thing is, with step 1 is finding out where to start. My biggest suggestion for you is to go consult a doctor. For the reason that there's lots of things and lots of questions that need to be answered. First of all, are you really overweight? Second, are you diabetic? Third, does your family or in some way have a certain heart disease in history or a certain type of disease? Number 4, is your blood pressure really high? Are your cholesterol levels really high? And number 5 is, are you eating the right amount of food? Or even, are you well in a balanced diet? So with consulting doctors normally have these tendencies, or it's funny that I say tendencies. Doctors have these processes where they let you undergo certain examinations or tests. So it can be a blood test or anything of the sorts connected to that. Or they could also refer you to a dietitian. So by having this involvement of the doctor, the dietitian, and even the examinations or the tests that are involved, can pinpoint which parts of your diet or of your habits, your well-being, is actually not healthy. So at least from there, you have a starting point and you have a certain goal or priority on which certain factors or certain foods, certain whichever things that you need to adjust. So that is step 1. Step 2, break down and adjust. So by breakdown, what I mean is, what do you normally eat in a day? Or even in times where you have these cravings, you know, these pleasure eating moments. So let's start with 3 things that you need to ask yourself. What is it that you eat? Second is, how much of that do you eat per serving or per event, per scenario? And number 3 is, how often do you eat such thing? So by understanding these 3 things can basically help you pinpoint which parts of your diet is actually in an extreme and which parts are actually in borderline okay, or maybe alright moment, or maybe it's not even enough. So that part is your breakdown. For you to adjust your diet, you should always have in your mind the idea that any food, the more processed or the more steps it takes to prepare, to cook, or even where you feel like it's the end product of a certain thing, the less steps there are for it to get from the farm itself or the produce to your belly, the less steps there are, the healthier it normally is for a person. So that's the general thought. So if we go into specifics, for instance, so let's make a list, right? So let's start with vegetables. Well, vegetables in itself is healthy. But the problem is, of course, anything in extreme is bad. Anything too little is also bad. And you have to keep in mind that there are times where you buy vegetables which are, frozen or fresh. It's usually normally okay. But the problem is once you start consuming the vegetables, with these additives or even with this creamy based sauces, or even if you consume them when they're deep fried, totally breaded and crummy and everything. It's quite good in that way, but like tempura style. Problem is, it becomes less and less healthy and becomes worse for your health. So if you were to choose, you would still preferably opt towards the more fresher way, the fresher thing, fresher produce. Second, when you go into fruits, there are instances where you buy these canned fruits. Canned fruits are okay if there's a mixture of juices or a mixture of water. But the problem is once it's mixed with syrup or with sugar, that in itself is already a big no-no. Next, when you choose meats, let's start with poultry, for instance, chicken. It's better if you eat without the skin because the skin itself is unhealthy. And when you choose meats, it's usually the more lean it is, the less fat there is, the healthier it is. It's stuff like that it's pretty simple to start with. Next is you should try your best to stay away from these organ meats, like let's say for instance a liver or a kidney. I guess a brain would count. It'd be weird, or it's like Hannibal style, but no. Anyway, you have these things as well. Next is also the idea of, let's say on a daily basis you like to eat bread. Well, of course, it's better if you get whole grain stuff in comparison to white bread. Also, when you get into, let's say, milk or yogurts, the lower fat it is, the less sugar it has, the better it is. So you would opt over the low-fat milk over the high fat or the full cream milk. Same goes with yogurt. Soy stuff, like tofu and everything. That's pretty good because even though it is in some way processed, the product in itself is healthy. So eat your hearts out with soy food or tofu. Of course, too much again is not good for your health. Okay, keep that in mind. Next, fish. Well, fish does wonders, especially this fish, salmon. Well, of course, it's kind of scary when you think about salmon. Me, whenever I think of salmon, the thing that comes to mind is salmonella. It's quite creepy, but to be honest, salmon is actually one of the healthiest fishes for heart health. And the next there would be you have your tuna and actually quite a lot of fish, but normally it's between salmon and tuna. So now that you have a gist of what you need to break down and adjust, here comes in your step number 3. Step number 3 is pace on your motivation level. So, lots of people are highly motivated, but the problem with high motivation when it comes to dieting, the problem is the reaction is also high. Meaning to say that, let's say for instance, I decide, alright, I am gonna completely stop eating anything sweet. The problem is, yes, it might work for a short-term duration, but the problem is, for some people, of course, it works. But for some, or rather most people, problem is they're more apt to go back to their old habit because it was such an abrupt change. The thing is, as human beings, we are adaptive in some way. So if we start to adjust our sequence in the right amount or in the right pace, we can actually have better results. So you can start with small things. Let's say, for instance, you like sandwiches. So how do you cut down on, let's say, for instance, carbohydrates? Well, why not eat your sandwich open? Meaning, if you usually eat it with a top and a bottom bread, why not just eat it with one bread? Maybe start doing that depending on what pace you have. Let's say you want to start slow. So every other day, since I eat sandwiches every day, which is really bad. So every other day, let's say for instance, you eat open face. And then gradually, once you're able to cut down that amount of carbohydrates that you intake, maybe change the type of bread. From white bread, you change into whole wheat bread. And it can go about in so many ways. The thing is, what's important is you adjust in a pace which you think you can easily adapt to. So of course, there's lots of cravings. You also have the idea of, let's say for instance, sweets or junk food. What would be a good replacement for that? I guess you could say nuts. Good nuts would be almonds or walnuts. And let's say you crave for soda, like me. I was hooked to Coca-Cola like insane. If possible, I could drink 1.5, 2.5 liters per day. But I realized that it's really, really bad for the health. So I decided to try my best to take maybe a bottle of Coke instead of a liter of Coke. A bottle of, I guess you could say 500 ml or something. And then eventually adapt to start drinking more water. So I try to drink water today, Coke tomorrow, or even just drink Coke when I feel like I'm on an energy low. Because I don't really drink, these energy drinks, and for some reason Coke works well for me. So in every person, there's always a way on how you can make change. But finding that balance, that perfect mix of the pace is actually the best route on how you can start with your healthy diet. So hey guys, Amen here, and you're watching Heart Limits. I hope you like this video. This is actually a problem that lots of people are facing, and I hope this video would help you reach further in your process of your undergoing diet, or even if you plan to undergo a diet.